Chris Sims here, War Focke-Wulf 190 owner and repairer and enthusiast. A lot of folks are interested in these kind of airplanes, and that's partly because of what they look like. These are sport aircraft that from 1974 on, they were designed to be made of wood substructure that was stressed out, and that's where the design stresses are found, to 6 Gs, plus or minus. Then you covered that structure with foam, shaped it to the shape you wanted, to the fighter you wanted to build, and then you covered it with fiberglass, and then wetted that out, painted it, and behold, you have a sport aircraft that looks like a World War II fighter. And back in the day, they were doing, Focke-Wulf 190 was the most popular. They did the Corsair with the gull wing. They did P-47s, Japanese Zeros. They had the inline P-51, and that was going to be a successful aircraft. However, sadly, the owner of the company crashed in it, and it killed him due to an issue with an aileron that began to flutter, and that was something that they knew about, and they should have repaired before, but they never did it. So that's what happened, and from there, War sort of became a sideline company. It was not, that basically cut the head off of it, and it was a little bit tougher to do and build War aircraft. In the past, War had complete metal kits that you could buy for it. Basically all the brackets, all the fittings, the landing gear, everything you could order from War. And that was around a $8,000 parts kit that you got to do. But that saved you from going out to a machine shop and probably spending $20,000. Also greatly sped up the build process. The problem with War, as I see it right now, and I've talked to some builders that have built these, and the man that built this was his third one. He was discussing that with me. Wars are supposed to weigh no more than about 620 pounds empty. And this would allow for, let's say, a 200-pound, 6-foot pilot to get in it, put 75 pounds or 80 pounds of gas, about 12 to 14 gallons, and you'd come in at 900 pounds, maybe 9, 10, or 20. And you'd have the aircraft flying at 920 pounds max with a 12-pound wing loading, and the airplane flew good at those out at that weight. It is a small wing, 77 or so square feet, so when you go above these weights, a lot of things start to degrade. One thing that degrades for the lower time pilot and enthusiast is your stall speeds all go up. Everything goes up. The stall speed goes up, your approach speeds go up, and most of us don't like to have that issue going on, especially this little airplane is difficult to see out of, and basically most of them are difficult to see out of. Once the tail comes up, you can see fairly well. But until then, their vision is pretty low, and there's not a lot of room when you're in there moving your head from side to side. I kind of like to do that. There's not a lot of room for that, and so that kind of hurts you on some of your depth perception. So things going forward on these airplanes, what they really need in order to make them, I think, an airplane that people would buy and be more interested in doing, because let's face it, this is a cool little airplane. It would be great to have, maybe 100 of these things being put together all around the country and showing up at air shows, and they definitely draw attention. But the weight issue is a big problem. Back in 1974, these airplanes were built with just wood, because anybody could do that. But these days we have access to modern technology. Now here's what I will propose. Imagine if you could buy a War design that had a carbon fiber substructure. Maybe basically instead of the wood, it would have a carbon fiber square tube fuselage structure that would be lighter and stronger. Those are two good things. Imagine if you had a carbon fiber front and rear spar that would be lighter and stronger. Imagine if a machine shop was contracted that would manufacture most, let's say 90% of all of the more complicated, difficult parts to get, and you could just get those parts and everything else would be relatively simple at a reasonable price. Let's say a metal kit for 7 or 8 grand, which would include landing gear and those assemblies. Landing gear is a very critical part of this and probably one of the more difficult parts to make. So if you could get all these things pre-made, imagine if the skins, people don't like to deal with the composites. Imagine if you had molded skins to just bond right over the structure with no foam. The foam adds significant weight. I can tell you this, and not to mention foams do absorb moisture and weight over time. And that's just the fact. They just do that. These things will make the airplane heavier and less fun to fly, but if you could get the airplane with modern technologies, modern engines, there are good engines out there right now, the Rotax, the D-motor, and UL Power, they all make 100 to 120, 130 horsepower motors that weigh less than 200 pounds, and that's with the propeller, the oil, the coolant, everything. This aircraft has a Continental O200, very reliable, great little motor. It's weighing in on this aircraft in around 250 pounds as it sits. You could basically shed 50 pounds right there. In fact, for this aircraft, it weighs 760 pounds as it was built. That is a full 150 pounds more than it was supposed to be weighing, according to War. Imagine you save 50 pounds here, you save maybe another 150 pounds, or 100 pounds, let's say, in all of the structures. Because you have no foam, you have carbon fiber skins that are perfectly made with exactly the amount of resin and the exact amounts of strengths that they need to hold the shape and to do what they need to do. Imagine if you had all that. Imagine if this airplane came in weighing at 550 to 570 pounds empty, because we saved all the weight, because we put the right kind of avionics. Basically, you just put an MGL system in there, it would have everything you need right on one instrument to be legal to fly. That would save a lot of weight, it would save a lot of complexity, and you have an airplane that would be built much faster, would have a much better chance of getting into the air, and would fly better, would be able to carry more weight, and would just be a better product. I don't know what kind of pricing these things are going to have. We are just kind of thinking about it, because we have our person that does the carbon fiber. We can basically do it. It's just a function of determining, interest and what people would want to do. If you could build this airplane completely with a kit in around 500 hours, probably doable. You buy the structure, the fuselage structure already built, already bonded. It just is shipped. You buy the skins already built, boxed, and they ship them to you. The whole fuselage would be a kit. The wing areas would be a kit. It'd be a top and bottom skin. It'd be a top and bottom skin of the fuselage. You'd buy the flight controls basically put together, and you would assemble it. The metal parts would basically be fabricated already. Put all that together. The motor would be a known product. Not that someone couldn't go out and put something else together, but the motor would be a known product. Probably, or possibly, the wiring harness that already connects up to the MGL system. Could have it. It'd be ready for a radio. Although if you just use a handheld, a little less weight, a little more weight savings, and cheaper, and it gets you into the air possibly a little quicker. For the kind of flying we're doing, we like to get in the air. Of course, you generally have to have an ADS-B system in there, so you probably have a transponder of some sort. Transponders that are capable, it could all be glassed in or put into the system under the skin. You wouldn't even have to look at it. You potentially could make ordnances or ordnance, such as bombs or a extended fuel tank. If you can get the weights low enough, you could have that fuel tank maybe carry 6 gallons or so, and have it designed in to the belly. That would extend your range another 150 miles. The airplane with that UL power, or the D motor, which I really like because it's very narrow. It gets you into a P-51 type aircraft, a P-40 type aircraft, the BF-109 type aircraft. It's only 22 inches wide and weighs about 170 pounds. And it makes up to 125 horsepower with 200 foot-pounds torque. It's a very torquey engine, means it can turn a bigger prop. So it would really be a great engine for this type of application, the inline type aircraft. You get into that. Those things are now available. They've not been available. Why keep it at 58% is effectively what these are. 57, 58, 59, 60%. The scaling is done to fit the man and give it good flight characteristics. You don't want to have to redesign the whole thing. Right now this will work. It makes the aircraft cheaper. It puts it in production faster, or the parts into production faster, because everything is well known. And if you're up to about 6 foot or so, you can get in the aircraft. If you're at 220 pounds, you probably will be able to do it. You'll probably have to make some adjustments, but the aircraft will be able to take it. But that'll get you into the air with an airplane that's relatively inexpensive for this type of an aircraft to own, and it'd be able to be built. One other thing, the war aircraft, they use these tires. These are effectively just go-kart tires. They're good up to, and that's another reason for the weight. The best you can find right now have a 450 pound maximum weight limit. Therefore, a pair of those wheels at 450 pounds, that's the weight of the aircraft. I think that's why you set 900 pounds as your goal weight on the aircraft. Could you go a little over? No doubt. These aircraft are flying at 1,050, 1,100 pounds, up to 1,200 pounds, and they're using these kind of tires, so they're pretty tough. But you'd like to be able to design and fly the aircraft at the weights that it's supposed to be at. And I think we can do that if we can get into the composites, have a kit that is fully ready to go with all the parts, a suggested engine, a suggested avionics package, and you're off to the races. That's my vision for what a war should be. And I think that would excite a lot of folks into getting into this. Building from plans and having to machine everything and worrying about the composites and worrying about all these other things make these very difficult projects. But if you can have all the parts, or 90% plus, everything else is relatively simple, then you have a project that you can see through to the end. And they can proudly display at Oshkosh, at their airport, or at their fly-in, wherever they are. Anyway, that's my thoughts on this, and hope you enjoyed the video.